There are moments in life when you look at the road ahead and realize you do not know where you are going. You wake up with plans, with goals, with dreams, but something inside you whispers, there must be more than this. You see, human wisdom can only take you so far. The mind can strategize, but it cannot see the unseen. The heart can desire, but it cannot discern the hidden path. That is why you must allow God to lead you every single day of your life. Because when God leads you, even the wilderness becomes a way. When God leads you, even the impossible bends to His command. When God leads you, confusion turns into clarity, weakness turns into strength, and fear turns into faith. Too many people live as though they are their own guide. They wake up and chase what they want. They fight for what they think they deserve. They plan without asking. They move without listening. And they end up wondering why peace never comes. But a person who allows God to lead them does not live in confusion. They may walk through storms, but they walk with direction. They may be surrounded by noise, but they move in silence. Because they know that God's leadership is not about speed. It's about purpose. It's not about what looks right. It's about what is right. When God leads you, He will sometimes take you through valleys not to punish you, but to prepare you. He will close doors not to limit you, but to protect you. He will delay certain things not to deny you, but to develop you. When you allow God to lead you, you stop fighting the process and start trusting the purpose. Every day is a new battlefield. The mind is pulled in many directions. The world shouts its opinions. People project their expectations, and anxiety creeps into the soul. But there is one thing that will always silence the chaos. When you surrender your steps to God, because God does not need your strength, He needs your submission. He does not require your control, He desires your trust. When you wake up and say, God, I do not know what this day holds, but I know you hold it, that is when the supernatural begins to flow. That is when doors open that no man can shut. That is when peace enters that no storm can destroy. The problem is not that God is silent. The problem is that we are too loud. We are too busy talking, too busy worrying, too busy planning, too busy trying to fix what only God can fix. But if you would just pause, if you would just be still and allow Him to lead, you would realize that His direction is always better than your decision. Allowing God to lead you is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is not passivity. It is power. Because you are acknowledging that you do not see the full picture, but He does. You are saying, I may not understand why this happened, but I trust the one who knows why. You are declaring, even when I can't trace the pattern, I can trust the plan. This is not blind faith. It is sacred faith. It is the kind of faith that moves mountains, calms storms, and builds nations. It is the kind of faith that does not crumble when life shakes you, because it stands on something unshakable. God's leading. When you allow God to lead, your steps will confuse those who don't understand your spiritual rhythm. They will wonder why you're calm when others are panicking. They will wonder why you're silent when others are shouting. They will wonder why you walk away from opportunities that seem perfect. But what they do not see is that you are being led by a divine compass. They do not understand that your timing is not determined by the world's clock. It is aligned. It is aligned with God's season. And when God leads you, you begin to value obedience over opportunity. You stop chasing everything that shines and start waiting for what's divine. Because not everything that looks good is sent by God. Sometimes the enemy decorates distractions to look like blessings. But when you allow God to lead, you will see through the disguise. You will discern what others cannot detect. You will walk with an inner knowing that cannot be taught. It can only be received from above. To allow God to lead you every day means to begin each morning in surrender, not in strategy. It means before you move, you pause. Before you decide, you pray. Before you speak, you listen. Because when you put God first, everything else falls into divine order. You will notice that even the smallest choices begin to align with purpose. You will sense His whisper saying, go here. You will feel His nudge saying, not now. You will experience moments where everything inside you says yes, but God says, wait. And you will learn that waiting on God is never wasted time. It is preparation time. He leads you not only by direction, but by delay. He leads you not only by open doors, but by closed ones. He leads you not only by clarity, but sometimes by silence. Because sometimes God's silence is not absence. It is instruction. It is His way of training your ear to trust His timing. Many people pray for God's blessings, but reject His leading. They want His promises without His process. They want His rewards without His requirements. But when you allow God to lead you, you accept that His way is higher than yours. You stop asking why and start saying thank you. Because even when it hurts, it helps. Even when it confuses, it completes. Even when it delays, it delivers. God does not lead you to break you. He leads you to build you. He does not lead you to frustrate you. He leads you to free you. Sometimes His path will take you through uncomfortable places to stretch your faith. Sometimes He will remove people you love to make room for what you need. Sometimes He will strip away what you thought you couldn't live without, to show you that all you ever needed was Him. Allowing God to lead means allowing Him to redefine your comfort zone. When you let God lead, your vision changes. You stop seeing obstacles as threats and start seeing them as tests. You stop viewing delays as denials and start recognizing them as divine timing. You stop fighting against the current and start flowing with His will. You understand that not everything that happens is meant to destroy you. Some things are designed to develop you. You may not see it in the moment, but every step, every detour, every disappointment carries a lesson that is shaping your destiny. God's leadership is never random. He does not make mistakes. If He took you there, it's because there is something for you to learn there. If He allowed it, it's because He intends to use it. So don't resist His leading, reverence it. To be led by God is to walk by faith, not by sight. Sight will deceive you, faith will direct you. Sight will tell you the path is blocked. Faith will tell you God can make a way. Sight will focus on what you lost. Faith will see what's coming. Sight looks at the visible, faith trusts in the invisible. That is why you must allow God to lead every part of your day. Not just the big moments, but the small ones too. Because sometimes the smallest decisions carry the greatest consequences. Sometimes one wrong conversation, one emotional reaction, one impatient move can alter your path. But if you let God lead even in the small moments, how you respond, how you speak, how you think, you begin to walk with divine discipline. You begin to carry a quiet strength that cannot be shaken by circumstances. The world will tell you to trust yourself, but self-trust without divine guidance leads to self-destruction. You are not meant to be your own God. You are meant to be guided by God. When you lean on your own understanding, you will make decisions out of fear, pride, or impatience. But when you lean on divine direction, you will make decisions out of wisdom, peace, and clarity. Let God lead you through the unknown. Do not demand to see the whole map. Just follow the next step. Because faith does not reveal the entire journey. It only illuminates the next move. God reveals just enough to keep you dependent, just enough to keep you humble, and just enough to keep you trusting. That is how He trains your spirit to walk by faith and not by sight. When you let God lead, you stop competing with others and start cooperating with purpose. You stop comparing your timeline with theirs. You stop worrying about who is ahead or behind, because you know you are exactly where you are meant to be. You understand that divine timing cannot be rushed or delayed. What is meant for you will find you when you are ready, not when you are restless. Allowing God to lead means trusting His calendar more than your clock. It means saying, even if it hasn't happened yet, it will happen when it's supposed to. Because when you follow divine timing, you are never late. You are perfectly aligned. There are days when you will feel lost, when you will not hear a clear answer, when everything around you seems uncertain. But that is when you must trust God the most. That is when you must remember that His silence is not abandonment. It is direction in disguise. Sometimes He hides Himself not to punish you, but to purify you. He allows silence so that you will learn to listen to the stillness within. Because true guidance is not always loud. It's often quiet. It's not always in the thunder. Sometimes it's in the whisper. When you are sensitive to the voice of God, even the smallest sign becomes a message. Even the simplest moment becomes divine. To allow God to lead you every day means to stop forcing what's not flowing. Stop chasing what keeps running. Stop trying to revive what God is trying to remove. When He leads, He will not always tell you why. He will simply tell you to go. And that's where your faith must rise. Because obedience without understanding is the highest form of trust. It's easy to follow when everything makes sense, but real faith begins when logic ends. Real faith is saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I know God is leading me. And when you move with that kind of faith, doors open that you never even knocked on. People appear that you never even searched for. Opportunities align that you never even imagined. Because God leads those who trust Him more than they trust their own reasoning. When you truly allow God to lead you every day, something remarkable begins to happen inside you. The noise of the world grows faint, and the voice of God grows louder. The pull of fear weakens, and the strength of faith rises. You stop reacting to life, and you start responding to divine instruction. You begin to notice that the things that used to shake you no longer have the same power. You begin to walk through storms without panic because you know who is guiding your steps. When God is leading you, even the unpredictable becomes purposeful. Even what you did not plan becomes part of a greater plan. You no longer question every setback because you know that behind every obstacle lies a hidden lesson. You no longer fear change because you know that God's direction often comes through redirection. Letting God lead every day is not just a decision. It is a discipline. It requires daily surrender. It requires the humility to say, I do not know what is best for me, but God does. It requires the maturity to admit that your plans are not always perfect, but God's will is flawless. You see, the human heart often believes it knows what it needs. But there is a difference between what you want and what will sustain you. There is a difference between what looks good and what leads to peace. And only God can reveal that difference. When you follow your own understanding, you may reach what you desire, but lose what truly matters. But when you allow God to lead, you may not always get what you expect, but you will always receive what your soul truly needs. The challenge is that human nature resists surrender. We like control. We like certainty. We like to plan the outcome before we take the first step. But the path of divine guidance is not a straight road. It is a sacred walk of faith. God will not show you every detail because He wants you to learn trust, not just knowledge. He will not give you the full picture because He wants you to depend on His voice every single day. If He showed you everything at once, you would stop seeking Him. So He reveals His will in fragments, in whispers, in seasons, just enough to keep you near Him. Every morning, you must return to that posture of surrender and say, lead me again, God. Direct me again today. Because guidance is not a one-time event. It is a continual relationship. And when you live in that daily relationship with divine guidance, peace becomes your companion. You no longer chase it. It follows you. Because peace is not found in knowing every answer. Peace is found in knowing who holds every answer. When God leads, you may not always understand the path, but you will always sense the peace. That peace is the signature of divine leadership. It's that calm assurance in your spirit that tells you, even though I don't have everything figured out, I am exactly where I am meant to be. It's the silent confidence that whispers, God is still in control, and that peace will protect you from despair. It will guard your mind from overthinking and your heart from fear. When God leads, He will sometimes take you out of what is familiar to show you what is greater. He will call you away from comfort to prepare you for calling. The people around you may not understand it. They may say you are making a mistake. But when you are led by divine wisdom, you will not always be understood because the ways of God are not the ways of man. When God leads you, He will sometimes remove you from circles that no longer align with your purpose. He will close doors that others are begging to open. He will isolate you for a season, not because He wants you to be lonely, but because He wants you to be ready. Solitude with God is never wasted. It is sacred preparation. When He leads, He refines. When He leads, He strengthens. When He leads, He teaches you how to hear His whisper in the midst of the world's noise. To be led by God is to develop the art of listening. And listening is not just about hearing words, it is about perceiving direction. God speaks through peace, through silence, through signs, through conviction. Sometimes He speaks through opportunities, sometimes through obstacles, but He always speaks to those who are still enough to listen. If your heart is full of noise, you will miss His whisper. If your mind is full of worry, you will overlook His guidance. This is why spiritual stillness is essential. You must learn to quiet your emotions, to silence your fears, to steady your mind, so that your spirit can receive what God is trying to show you. When you allow God to lead you every day, you learn that delays are not denials. They are divine timing. What seems late to you is right on time in God's schedule. You may be praying for something that has not yet come, but God is not ignoring you. He is arranging everything to align perfectly. There are people He must prepare, doors He must open, situations He must correct before He releases what you asked for. Trust that. Stop measuring God's timing with your impatience. His delay is His protection. His not yet is His way of saying, I am still working behind the scenes. If you force what is not ready, you will ruin what could have been perfect. So wait in faith. Wait in surrender. Wait knowing that when God leads, His timing is flawless. And understand this, when God leads you, He doesn't just change your path, He transforms your perception. You start seeing through spiritual eyes. You begin to notice the hand of God in ordinary moments. A closed door becomes a message. A delay becomes a lesson. A disappointment becomes direction. This is how spiritual maturity grows, through the awareness that God is leading, even when life feels uncertain. The immature demand explanations. The mature simply trust the process because they know that God's wisdom is infinite and His plans are perfect. When you let God lead, you stop trying to control people. You stop trying to fix everything and everyone around you. You learn that your responsibility is obedience, not outcome. You obey and God handles the results. You sow the seed and God determines the harvest. You speak the truth and God changes the hearts. Many lose peace because they carry burdens that were never theirs to carry. They try to be the leader instead of the follower. But when you truly let God lead, you release the weight of control and rest in the power of faith. You begin to live lighter, walk freer, and move with confidence because you know you are not navigating life alone. Letting God lead does not mean life will be easy. It means life will be purposeful. You will still face storms, but the difference is that now you will not drown in them. You will still encounter valleys, but now you will walk through them with peace. You will still face opposition, but you will stand firm because you know who is guiding you. God does not promise an easy path, but He promises a victorious destination. He does not remove the mountain. He strengthens your legs to climb it. He does not always calm the storm. Sometimes He teaches you how to rest in the boat while the storm rages. Divine leadership builds endurance. It molds character. It purifies motives. It transforms your heart until you no longer desire your own will, but only the will of God. When you follow divine direction, you begin to live above fear. You no longer fear what's ahead because you know who is ahead. You no longer worry about tomorrow because you know who holds tomorrow. You begin to understand that even your mistakes cannot derail God's purpose. Even when you take the wrong turn, He can redirect you. Even when you fall, He can restore you. Because divine leadership is not fragile, it is merciful. God knows how to bring beauty from your brokenness. He knows how to turn your detours into destiny. But you must allow Him to take the wheel. Stop fighting for control. Stop trying to plan what only God can plan. You are not the author of your story. He is. And His version is always better than yours. Each morning you rise, remind yourself that today is not yours. It belongs to God. Invite Him into your thoughts, your plans, your words, and your emotions. Do not begin your day in rush and noise. Begin it in surrender and stillness. Say within your heart, God, guide my steps, filter my thoughts, and order my path. When you make that your daily posture, you will notice divine alignment. People will appear at the right time. Opportunities will unfold effortlessly. What used to feel heavy will feel lighter. What used to confuse you will begin to make sense. Because divine guidance removes friction. It replaces stress with serenity and confusion with clarity. When you let God lead, even your mistakes become messages. Even your failures become fuel. Even your pain becomes purpose. Because nothing is wasted in divine hands. God uses everything to shape you, strengthen you, and sanctify you. That is why those who allow God to lead never truly lose. They either win or learn. They either rise or are refined. There is no defeat in divine direction. There is only redirection toward what is best. When you truly let God lead your life, you begin to walk with a quiet strength that does not depend on circumstances. You no longer need everything to go your way to feel at peace, because your peace no longer depends on outcomes. It depends on alignment. The storms may rage, people may misunderstand you, plans may change, but your heart remains still. Because you know something others do not. You are being guided by a higher hand. You no longer ask, why is this happening? But rather, what is God teaching me through this? That question alone shifts your entire perspective. Because now, instead of resisting life, you are learning from it. Instead of fighting change, you are flowing with divine purpose. When you let God lead, every challenge becomes a classroom, and every moment becomes a message. Too many people pray for guidance, but few are willing to follow it when it comes. They want divine direction to confirm their desires, not correct them. But true guidance is not about agreement, it's about alignment. When God leads, He will not always tell you what you want to hear, but He will always tell you what you need to hear. And sometimes, what you need to hear will challenge your comfort zone. Sometimes, His direction will lead you away from what is easy. Because ease does not produce elevation. His leading is meant to stretch you, not soothe you. To grow you, not gratify you. And that's why many resist it. They want blessings without change, promises without process, glory without guidance. But if you truly want the life God has prepared for you, you must be willing to follow wherever He leads, even when it doesn't make sense. God's path will never contradict His peace, but it will often confront your pride. He will ask you to release what you think you need. He will ask you to forgive what you would rather resent. He will ask you to move forward when your heart wants to stay still. Because the divine path is not about comfort, it's about transformation. Every time you surrender to God's leading, you shed another layer of fear, ego, and doubt. You become lighter. You become clearer. You begin to move with grace instead of striving. The more you surrender, the freer you become, because the power of divine guidance lies not in control, but in trust. When you allow God to lead you daily, He begins to protect you in ways you cannot see. Some of the people who walked away were not losses. They were divine removals. Some of the doors that closed were not rejections. They were redirections. Some of the plans that failed were not punishments. They were protections. God leads you by what He allows, but also by what He prevents. And one day you will look back and thank Him for every unanswered prayer, because you will realize He was never withholding. He was safeguarding. When you let God lead, you begin to trust that what doesn't happen is just as important as what does. You stop forcing outcomes and you start flowing in divine timing. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "Thank you for saving me from what I didn't see." Letting God lead is also about letting go. You cannot be led while you are holding tightly to what He is trying to release. You cannot step into the next chapter while clinging to the last one. When God leads, He often begins with subtraction. He takes away what blocks your vision so He can reveal what's beyond it. He removes what you think you cannot live without, so you can discover that He is all you ever needed. Letting go is not loss. It is liberation. When you surrender what you cannot control, you make room for what is meant to be. You cannot carry both control and peace. They cannot coexist. So each day, let your prayer be, "God, take from me whatever keeps me from following you." That is how freedom begins. And as you follow God's lead, you will notice something powerful. He does not lead through fear, but through faith. Fear shouts, but faith whispers. Fear demands proof, but faith trusts presence. When God leads, He does not need to explain every detail. He gives you enough light for the next step, not the whole staircase. Because if you saw everything at once, you would either run ahead or run away. Divine guidance requires daily trust, step by step, moment by moment, choice by choice. And in that rhythm of trust, your spirit begins to mature. You learn patience. You learn discernment. You learn how to distinguish between impulse and inspiration, between emotion and direction, between noise and truth. When God leads, you begin to experience life as a divine conversation. Every event, every encounter, every delay becomes a part of that sacred dialogue. Sometimes He speaks through peace that settles your heart. Sometimes through discomfort that stirs your spirit. Sometimes through opportunities that open, and sometimes through obstacles that close. But to the one who listens deeply, God is never silent. He is always speaking through nature, through intuition, through circumstances, through the stillness of the soul. That is why allowing God to lead requires sensitivity. You must learn to quiet the outer world so that the inner world can hear. In silence, you will find clarity. In stillness, you will find strength. To walk under divine guidance also means to move with purpose, not pressure. The world will try to rush you, but God will train you to rest. The world will measure your worth by speed, but God measures it by substance. When you let Him lead, you learn that what matters most is not how fast you go, but how faithfully you follow. You stop chasing timelines and start embracing seasons. You realize that everything beautiful in life unfolds in divine order. Flowers bloom when it's their time, rivers flow when it's their time, and blessings arrive when it's their time. When you rush ahead of God, you may enter something prematurely. And what begins in haste often ends in heartbreak. But when you let Him lead, you learn that patience is not passive, it's powerful. It is the posture of trust that says, I will not force what God is still forming. And as He leads, you will notice that your desires begin to transform. What you once wanted no longer satisfies you. The things that used to excite you begin to lose their hold. You begin to crave depth instead of distraction, purpose instead of popularity, truth instead of trends. This is the refinement that comes from divine leadership. God will change not only your path, but your palate. He will purify your desires until they align with His wisdom. That is when true contentment begins. When your heart stops chasing what was never meant for you and starts resting in what is divinely assigned to you. Allowing God to lead you every day also teaches you endurance, because the path of faith is not free from struggle. It is full of sacred strength. When you are led by God, you will not be exempt from trials, but you will be empowered to overcome them. You will learn that pressure is not meant to destroy you, but to define you. Each challenge will refine your character, deepen your trust, and reveal the power within you. Divine leadership does not remove storms, teaches you how to stand in the middle of them. When God leads, even your tears water the soil of your destiny. Even your pain becomes the proof that you are growing. And when you walk closely with God, you realize that the path is not about achievement. It is about alignment. It's not about reaching a destination. It's about becoming who you were meant to be. The goal is not to impress others. It is to live in harmony with divine purpose. Every day becomes an act of worship when you live under divine direction. Every action, every thought, every decision becomes a reflection of surrender. This is where true peace is found, not in doing more, but in being more aligned with God's will. When you let God lead, you no longer fear the unknown, because the unknown is only unknown to you, not to God. He has already walked ahead of you. He has already prepared the way. You may not see it, but He has already arranged every connection, every opportunity, every outcome that you need. Your job is not to predict. Your job is to follow. When you trust that God goes before you, you stop living in anxiety and start living in expectancy. You begin to say, whatever comes, I am ready. Because I know who leads me. That is divine confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. Assurance that your life is in the hands of the one who never fails. There will be days when you do not feel strong, when confusion clouds your mind, when the path seems hidden. But that is when you must remind yourself, divine leadership is not based on feeling, it is based on faith. Even when you don't feel His presence, He is still leading you. Even when you don't hear His voice, He is still speaking through circumstance. Even when you feel lost, He knows exactly where you are. Your emotions do not define His presence. His promise does. So keep walking, keep trusting, keep surrendering. Because every step you